Hello biscuits! It's Cupcake Kami-sama back here and welcome to another video from the Advanced Coordinating series. And I promise that this one will be a breather from the brain-bending exercises we've done last time, focusing instead on something simpler and much easier to break down: mixing patterns. This is actually the first topic suggestion I've ever received for this series from Dr. Papillon, whom you should totally check out if you haven't already. It's taken this long to get round to it because for the longest time I was convinced that I wasn't the right person to tackle it, that I don't mix patterns much, if at all, so why should what I say about it carry any weight at all, right? Until I looked back at what I was wearing, particularly over the course of 2020 and 2021, and realized that, yeah, I was mixing patterns and enjoyed doing it. So get comfortable, click subscribe to ensure that you catch any new videos that I might do, and let's have a chat about mixing patterns, shall we? As weird as it is to lead with this, if what you want to achieve is that fell into my wardrobe and emerge with whatever stock look, however much it may make someone's head spin, then mana bless you in your endeavors. But this video won't really be for you. It's a look that I fully endorse if it makes you happy, but you will find more useful tips for that in my videos on intentionality and beyond Lolita. This one is for the people who would like to mix patterns a little less in your face and are trying not to overwhelm the outfit or the people around them, or who have amassed a fair number of full sets and may be struggling to mix and match between them. What's important to remember is that even though Lolita fashion has its own set of rules and guidelines, it also doesn't exist in a vacuum, and many things that work for mainstream looks will apply here too. This may be why Lolitas can be somewhat hesitant to get into mixing patterns, because it's seen as a fashion faux pas in mainstream styles too, but you needn't be. People do it there. People break and bend the rules all the time with fantastic results, and you can do that too with Lolita, since it is just clothes. Often what we internalize as the rules is nothing but suggestions aimed at preventing people from running before they can walk. Not a way of saying that something cannot be done ever, full stop. And between what I've figured out for myself and what I've picked up from others, to me, successfully mixing patterns within a Lolita cohort boils down to three broad tricks: theme, size, and placement. If you're completely new to mixing patterns, then it will help to talk about themes first, even though the other two apply here as well. Because we all know, consciously or subconsciously, that some themes are simply perfect for mixing patterns. Just like you know that a tomato sauce goes well with pasta, you know that clashing patterns are a-okay in punk looks, for example, or that they are common in some old school ones. Again, going over some of the things that apply to intentionality within cohorts may help you here, but for the most part, you only need to be willing to embrace the look and fake your confidence in it until you feel it. Some outfits will rely more on that embracing of things, like some of those bolder and earlier old school Lolita ones, and others are more about having the right piece that's already a part of that theme, like tartans and stripes are to punk-inspired outfits. As long as your theme is pretty clear and easy to identify, mixing patterns would work in your favor and not against you. To exemplify that, let's look at the following cohorts with Angelic Pretty's Fantasy Theatre Gilet JSK. Granted, in a colorway that I own, which is ivory, the background diamond pattern is hard to make out behind the bright and colorful print. Nonetheless, it is there, and any of these looks would have worked equally great with any of the other colorways of that print. Why? Because we associate circus themes with bold geometric patterns, and seeing them reinforces the theme. As I don't do circus Lolita very often, my own examples are quite tame, contained to legwear. Nonetheless, if I owned blouses in matching or complementary patterns to the legwear in each of these three looks, wearing them would only make the coords more whimsical and fun and, well, circusy. Regardless of whether we talk Diamonds and Diamonds from April 2019, Diamonds and Stripes from March 2020, or Diamonds and Stripes and Diamonds from the Around Your Wardrobe in 30 Coordinates prompt number 16. Depending on how deep into mixing patterns you want to go, some themes and substyles will make that easier for you. I already mentioned punk and old school, I've shown you circus now, and you could do that to a certain extent with sailor, pirate, good or potentially even country and Lolita. A lot depends on the exact patterns that you intend to mix, but the substyles will hopefully make that easier for you to accomplish. But you're not limited to mixing patterns within certain themes only. The beauty of fashion is how it allows for self-expression, and mixing patterns is an incredible way to achieve that. This is where learning to navigate their size and placement helps push your looks beyond a few set themes. You can start by treating them like you would colours, and begin by sandwiching them to ensure balance. And just like with colours, I would encourage you to experiment outside of that template too, and simply give something a try before deciding whether it works or not. At this point, allow me to refer to the wise words I've picked up from Dandy Wellington's video, which I cannot recommend highly enough if you're after a quick masterclass in coordinating. Despite the fact that he's talking about menswear, a lot of it still applies to Lolita fashion. But going back on track, his tip is to mix smaller patterns with larger ones as a way of avoiding visual clutter. This specifically means both the size of the pattern itself and how much of it is there in the outfit overall, though this is more to do with placement, which I'll get onto in a moment. In other words, if your main piece has a large pattern running through it, and for the purposes of Lolita fashion, we can totally treat border prints as patterns here, any other pattern you introduce to the outfit should be smaller, as that will blend more easily and won't try to steal the spotlight from the larger pattern. Over the course of 2020, I've gotten a newfound appreciation for polka dots and stripes, at least enough times to notice that it was a somewhat running theme for me. Right now I could probably do even more with this combination, but one of my most reliable way of doing dots and stripes was with this off-brand top. For once, the examples I'm using are centered around the builder piece and not a main piece, because builder pieces are valid. This top is quite striking, and black and white is a high contrast color combination, and the stripes themselves are large, making this a very bold and visible element of any outfit I wear it with. So if I am to pair it with something else that's patterned, in this case with polka dots, my aim is to go for something with smaller and denser dots, so that the dots can blend into the stripes almost. With the Metamorphose JSK cord from June 2020, the dots are actually so tiny that you can only identify them as such from pretty up close. In this particular cord, wearing the JSK as a skirt helped make the top even more striking by reducing how much of the dots I have on my body, though I also balanced them out with a polka dot scarf on my head. Similarly, this actual skirt, also from Meta, in a cord from February 2021, works because even though the introduction of another color tries to steal some attention away from the top, the polka dot pattern remains in the background as a complement to the bolder elements of the outfit. And whilst I could have added more dots to either of these looks, I decided not to, so as to let the top be the star of the show whilst also keeping some interest in the form of pattern mixing. Both of those looks benefit a lot from more retro and llama inspired styling, like the hair, makeup and accessory choices, which enhance the vibes, but this could have equally well been a more traditionally Lolita ensemble with things like head bows, tea party shoes and subtler makeup, and it would not detract from how a smaller polka dot pattern can mix well with a bolder one like these stripes. By the way, if you enjoyed this video, then I'd appreciate it if you could take a moment to click like on it. It helps YouTube know that this is something you would like to see more of, and it helps me know that you are enjoying these and encourages me to make more like it. Lastly, let's get to the placement of the patterns, which I've already mentioned as going hand in hand with the size of the pattern itself. Once again, the aim of the game is to avoid putting too many visually striking things into one place, but instead to spread them around the whole outfit. In his video, Dandy Wellington uses patterned socks, bow ties and shirts as examples of additional patterns to use with his striped jacket. It's actually quite similar for Lolita fashion too. You can go for blouses and legwear, but also hair accessories, bags, maybe some other layers like overskirts, whatever you fancy. Kind of like with the principle of sandwiching colours to make any shade mismatches less obvious. By spreading out the various patterns, you can give your eyes, and those of any observers, a break and help the individual pieces click into place as a whole. One of my favourite places to introduce patterns is legwear. Your average Lolita dress is knee length or thereabouts, which leaves quite a large space to fill with something. Arguably, so are arms, but finding a good enough pattern blouse to work with Lolita can be significantly harder than finding pattern legwear. Or at least my own collection of those is pretty small right now, and I'm just being picky. Meanwhile, I enjoy Lolita legwear a lot, so introducing patterns there to go with the main print is a lot of fun for me. This is how we get polka dots with tartan in this, granted, less Lolita look from May 2020, or another dots and stripes one from May 2021. The themes of these looks are once again helping to tie them together better, making things click into place as a whole instead of becoming clutter. But considering how this heart EJSK is considerably shorter on me, more of an early noughties Lolita length, both of those outfits still feature more of the tartan than of the patterns on my legs. And if I tried to do the same with blouses, then I'd either pick blouses with smaller patterns, going back to what I said about pattern size, or simply wear a cardigan or a bolero to cover most of it up for that extra bit of balance. These are the rough basics, the guidelines for starting out. I totally encourage you to approach mixing patterns as you would colours, start with the sandwiching technique and then experiment until you find something you like. With enough intentionality in there, no one can really stop you from pulling power moves like that. Especially since our fashion is embracing patterns of various kinds in various forms more and more. Florals, stripes, dots, hearts, diamonds, tartans, ginghams, novelty prints, on dresses, on socks, blouses, bags, hair pieces. Whatever you can dream up, someone somewhere likely makes it. And if they exist, that's all the reason to take advantage of them and use those patterns in whatever ways make you happy. I mean, come on, we wear Lolita fashion, which already sticks out a lot amongst other people on the street. Are you really going to let some mixed patterns be the thing that stops you from living your best life? Yet because various patterned elements at accessible price points and sizes are still on the newer end of the spectrum in our fashion, finding examples of people mixing patterns in their co-ops in exciting ways can be a bit hard. You will always have the old school snaps in fruits, kira and GLBs to look at, as those early Lolitas were often much more bold than we can be nowadays. But then I realised what a brain fart moment that was for me. because I do know someone who's doing that now in ways that really get me excited and make me feel like I'm not experimenting enough. My friend Lou, or at FrillyVanillaCos on Instagram. For her, mixing patterns is as much of a personal style stamp as it is a nod to the old school and punk styles that she favours. I would never have thought of pairing a sweet print from Innocent World with a brightly coloured cardigan with crochet fruits on it, but I love it. Regardless of whether we talk about a head-spinning pattern overload or a carefully selected statement piece with something complementary, Lou mixes patterns with joy and expertise that evokes a feeling of freedom within me just from looking at her outfits, and then pushes me to either go on a vintage spree or a charity shop run to hunt down that perfect vintage piece that will add that perfect touch of tacky to my Lolita outfits that nothing else could ever replicate. At the end of the day, I still believe that we can all pick up more tips and tricks about mixing patterns from other fashion styles. Lolita fashion does not exist in a vacuum. And once you distill any fashion's rules to their core concept, you could apply them to any look. Overall, we are still making quite tentative steps in the world of mixing patterns, and the advances that we have made are accomplished in equal measures thanks to the unabashed old schoolers amongst us and the whimsy that Chinese indie brands bring with their wacky ideas. So definitely look to those if you're not yet ready to expand your pool of inspirations. Though I'd still encourage you to broaden your horizons beyond Lolita fashion. Pick things up from people who have been mixing patterns for years. That is what has helped me the most. And trust yourself. If the things in this video made sense to you and you feel comfortable putting Lolita fashion outfits without having to ask someone about every single element of it, then I should hope that you are ready to take it up a notch. Experiment, because even if it doesn't work out, you will learn something from the process. And an intermediate Lolita will be able to figure out why the experiment didn't work out as planned, regardless of whether they show their cord to anyone or keep it to themselves. Or maybe they'll realize that even though the cord is not objectively Lolita or even objectively successful, they still like it and it makes them happy to wear it. Live your best life, be happy, take joy out of wearing fun clothes, because honestly, when you think about it, mixing patterns is kind of pointless if it's not bringing you any fun. And on that note, thank you all so much for watching this video. As always, I hope that you have enjoyed it, found something useful or inspiring in it, and that you feel enabled to try that something different that you've been thinking about for a bit now. For as long as this series continues, I am on the lookout for further ideas on what to talk about next, which is why I love to hear your suggestions. Some of them, like this one, can be just a single comment from a single person to inspire a whole video. And sometimes it will be a combination of several slightly different comments from a handful of people, maybe even over a period of time, that will inspire another one. So if there is anything that you would like me to discuss, leave it in the comments, please. Liking this video and subscribing to my channel will also help it grow and help these videos continue by letting me know that you enjoy them at absolutely no cost to you. Though if you would like to support me beyond that, I do have a Ko-fi page for one-off tips and a Patreon page where the $2 a month tier will grant you 1 week early access to every single video that I publish. Or you could go for the $1 a month tier to get early access to every single blog post that I publish, which will also let you catch the advanced coordinating content before it goes live to the public. And speaking of my blog, if you're looking for more Lolita fashion related stuff, I would love it if you checked it out. It's Cupcakes and Unicorns, where you will find everything from my outfit rundowns to miscellaneous thoughts and ramblings. For now though, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye!